iPhone 16e, ¿vale la pena la actualización? Descubre si el iPhone 16 se merece la emoción. Sumérgete en sus características, comparaciones con modelos anteriores y toma una decisión informada sobre la actualización.
Hey everyone. So the iPhone 16 is finally here.
It is.
And I know a lot of you are probably wondering if it's worth all the hype.
Right.
We're going to be taking a deep dive into this new phone by looking at this article from 9 to 5 Mac.
Okay.
Which compares the 16 to older models, the 12, the 13, the 14, even the 15.
Wow.
So we're going to be looking at, what really stands out about this new phone?
Okay.
What are some of the maybe drawbacks, and is it a worthy upgrade from your current iPhone?
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
So let's start off by just giving a super quick overview of what is the iPhone 16?
Sure. So the iPhone 16 launched yesterday,
Okay.
February 19th, 2025, and the starting price is $599.
Okay.
Some of the key features are things like Apple Intelligence, Face ID.
Mm-hmm.
It also has a USB-C port, finally.
Finally.
I know, right?
Been waiting for that.
And it also has a 48MP Fusion camera.
Oh, nice.
So it's a pretty big upgrade from the iPhone SE3.
Yeah, that price point is definitely, I think, what's catching a lot of people's eye.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's talk about how it actually compares to those older iPhones.
Okay.
Let's start with the display.
Okay.
What are the differences there?
So the screen size is consistent across all the models
Okay.
at 6.1 inches.
Got it.
The 16, along with the 13 and 14, has an OLED screen with 800 nits of brightness.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone 12 is a bit dimmer at 625 nits.
Yeah.
One big change, though, came with the iPhone 15, which was the dynamic island, which unfortunately didn't make it to the 16e.
I know. I was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah.
I feel like that might have been they had to cut that to make the price what it is.
Probably.
But let's talk about the camera.
Okay.
So this new phone has this 48MP wide-angle lens.
Mm-hmm.
How does that compare to, the older models?
So it's a pretty big step up, especially if you're coming from a 12MP lens on an older iPhone.
Right.
The 48MP lens is going to allow you to capture a lot more detail. Okay.
And the colors are going to look much better.
Got it.
You also get a 2x zoom with optical quality.
Oh, wow.
Which means you can zoom in without getting that blurry, pixelated mess you get with digital zoom.
Right.
So it's kind of like having a neat telephoto lens right in your pocket.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, a lot of people love that ultra-wide lens.
Yeah.
And this phone doesn't have it.
Right.
So for someone who likes to take, landscape photos or group photos, how big of a deal is that?
So it really depends on how you use your phone's camera.
Okay.
If you're someone who frequently takes those wide shots, you're going to miss that ultra-wide lens.
Okay.
But I will say the 2x optical zoom can partially compensate for that.
Okay.
You can still capture a wider field of view than you could with the older 12MP models.
Right.
And the image quality will be much better
Right.
than if you were to just use digital zoom.
So it's kind of like a trade-off in a way.
It is, yeah.
You're getting this amazing zoom, but then you're losing that ultra-wide.
Okay, let's talk about the processor now.
Okay.
What kind of performance boost can we expect from the A18 chip?
You're going to notice a huge difference with the A18 chip.
Okay.
Especially if you're coming from an older iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
This chip is a powerhouse.
Nice.
Imagine opening apps instantly, no lag when you're switching between a bunch of things.
Oh, wow.
Even editing videos on the fly, the A18 can handle all of that.
Wow.
Without breaking a sweat.
Very nice.
It outperforms the A14, the A15, and even the A16 chips found in the older models.
So this thing is like a speed demon, basically.
Pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about the connectivity?
Okay.
Does the 16E keep up with the newer iPhones in terms of 5G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth?
So all the iPhones we're talking about have 5G and Wi-Fi 6 capabilities.
Okay.
The 16, though, uses Apple's own 5G modem,
Okay.
which is designed to be more power efficient.
Got it.
So you're going to be able to do things like scroll through Instagram and stream videos for longer
Okay.
without draining your battery. The 16E also comes with the latest Bluetooth 5.3, which means better audio quality for your wireless headphones and smoother connections with other devices.
Cool. So it sounds like it checks all the boxes in terms of connectivity.
Yes.
Now let's talk about battery life, because I think that's always a major factor for a lot of people.
Right.
The article mentions that the 16E has the best battery life of any 6.1-inch iPhone.
It does.
So how much better are we talking here?
We're talking a huge difference.
Okay.
The 16E reportedly delivers a whopping 26 hours of video playback.
26 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
To put that in perspective, the iPhone 12 gets 17 hours.
Okay.
The 13 gets 19, and both the 14 and 15 max out at 20.
So 26 hours is seriously impressive.
It is.
Are there any other like notable features worth mentioning?
Sure. So the 16E introduces a new action button that you can customize to quickly access your favorite features.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can imagine like launching the camera, turning on your flashlight, activating a shortcut all with a single press.
Very nice.
Then there are the safety features that are thankfully becoming standard across iPhones.
Right.
Like emergency SOS and crash detection.
It's good that they're including those on all the models.
For sure. The 16 also carries over photographic styles from the iPhone 13 and 14.
Okay.
Which give you more control over the look and feel of your photos.
Right.
You can choose from different preset styles or even customize your own to create a unique aesthetic.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like the iPhone 16 is a pretty compelling package, especially compared to those older models.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know there has to be some trade-offs here.
Right, there always are.
So like, what are some of the things that we should be thinking about?
So we already talked about the lack of an ultra-wide lens, which might be a deal breaker for some.
Yeah.
And then there's the absence of official MagSafe support.
Okay. So no magnetic charging or any of the accessories.
Right.
And a lot of people have those.
Yeah.
So that is something to think about. And then obviously compared to the iPhone 15, you're not going to get that dynamic island experience.
That's right.
So there are definitely some compromises to think about.
Definitely.
But ultimately, I think like the big question that everyone's asking is the iPhone 16D the right upgrade for you?
Right.
Like, how do you know if this is the phone that you should get?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
It all depends on your individual needs and your priorities.
Okay, so let's try to like break this down a little bit
for
our listeners.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the factors that they should be thinking about when trying to make this decision?
So the first and most important question is, what iPhone are you currently using?
Okay.
If you're rocking an iPhone 12 or older, the 16 is a huge upgrade across the board.
Makes sense.
But if you're coming from a 14 or a 15,
okay,
the decision gets a bit trickier. You really need to weigh the importance of those missing features. You know, the ultra-wide lens, MagSafe, and the dynamic island.
Right.
How much do you use those things?
Yeah.
Would you miss them? And then you got to think about the price, too.
Right.
At $599, the iPhone 16 offers incredible value.
Yeah.
Especially compared to those newer models. So you're getting Apple Intelligence, that crazy battery life, that newer processor, USB-C, all for a very attractive price.
Yeah, and the article talks about this too. Like they seem to be pretty impressed with the 16E overall.
They are.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
You know, the article highlights that the iPhone 16E will likely be a noticeable upgrade from any iPhone older than the 16.
Okay.
Assuming you're okay with not having official MagSafe support.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really does seem to hit that sweet spot between features and affordability.
So if you have like a really old iPhone, this is your chance to like kind of jump into the future of iPhone tech without spending a ton of money.
Exactly.
Yeah. What makes this 16E like such a significant leap forward than even compared to like the 13 or the 14?
So I think it's really a combination of factors. You know, you're getting the A18 chip, which is a beast.
Yeah.
You have the much improved camera, even without that ultra wide lens.
Right.
The addition of Apple Intelligence is also significant. And of course, that battery life is a game changer.
Yeah, like 26 hours still is like blowing my mind.
I know, right?
So, okay, we've talked about a lot of like the specs and the features and like compared it to all these other iPhones. But I think it's important to like bring it back to our listener for a second.
Right.
Like, what does this all mean for them?
Yeah.
Like, why should they care about the iPhone 16?
That's the key question, isn't it?
It is.
I think the iPhone 16 is a really fantastic example of how technology is constantly evolving and becoming more accessible.
Right.
You know, it shows that you don't have to spend a fortune to get a device with really impressive capabilities and features.
Yeah.
So the 16 is a really powerful option for people who are, you know, budget conscious or just looking for a solid upgrade from an older model.
It's like finding that hidden gem.
Yes.
In like this sea of expensive gadgets.
Right.
You get the quality, but you don't have to pay that like super premium price.
Exactly.
And it kind of challenges the idea that like newer is always better.
It does.
You know, sometimes it's about finding that right balance
Exactly.
between like the features, the performance, and the price.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the 16E might be hitting that sweet spot for a lot of people.
I think so.
Yeah, it's all about, finding the phone that fits your life,
Right.
not the other way around.
Exactly.
And that's what we try to do with these deep dives, is like give you the information you need
Yeah.
to make those decisions.
For sure.
But obviously, we're just scratching the surface here.
Right.
Like there's always more to explore.
Always.
So we always encourage our listeners to kind of go deeper.
Yeah.
Visit Apple's website, read those in-depth reviews, maybe watch some videos.
Yeah.
Like get a feel for the 16D in action.
Exactly.
Don't just take our word for it. Like
Yeah.
go out and see for yourself if it lives up to the hype for you.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of exploring further, I kind of want to leave you with like a final thought to ponder
Okay.
as you continue to do your research.
I'm intrigued. Hit me with it.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the 16's camera,
Yeah.
like the good and the maybe not so good.
Right.
So I want you to think about how you use your phone's camera like on a daily basis.
Okay.
If you didn't have that ultra-wide lens, how would that change your photography or video recording experience? Would you miss it?
Yeah.
Would the 16's like impressive 2x optical zoom like be enough to make up for that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And then on the flip side,
Okay.
think about like the apps and features that you use most frequently on your phone.
Yeah.
Would the 16's processor and all the other features like that crazy long battery life,
Right.
would those significantly enhance those experiences?
Yeah.
Like these are the kinds of questions that you should be asking yourself as you're kind of weighing your options.
For sure.
It really comes down to what matters most to you.
Right.
Is it having that ultra wide lens,
Yeah.
or is it more important to have the latest processor
Mm-hmm.
and like a crazy long battery life?
Exactly.
And I think even if the 16 isn't the perfect fit for everyone,
Yeah.
it's still really fascinating to see how Apple is targeting different segments of the market with this release.
I agree.
Not everyone wants to spend $1,000
Right.
to get the latest and greatest iPhone.
Yeah.
Some people just want something that's affordable, that works well. And I think the 16E is definitely appealing to a lot of those people.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything
I think so.
about the iPhone 16E.
Yeah.
At least based on this 9 to 5 Mac article.
Right.
It's been a fun ride.
It has.
But before we wrap things up,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about the specs and the features, and you've done an amazing job of kind of explaining
Oh, thanks.
how those translate to real-world use.
Yeah.
But I think there's another aspect that's worth considering,
Okay.
and that's the software experience.
Oh, yeah.
And Apple Intelligence is like a big part of this new phone.
It is.
So my final thought for you is
Okay.
think about how Apple Intelligence might enhance your daily life
Okay.
beyond just the hardware improvements. Like how might it personalize your phone experience, make things more efficient,
Yeah.
maybe even surprise you with its capabilities.
That's a good point.
So yeah, just something to kind of ponder
Yeah.
as you're deciding if the 16E is the right phone for you.
Okay.
All right, listeners.
Yeah.
That wraps up our deep dive into the iPhone 16.
Yeah.
We hope you found this insightful and maybe even a little bit helpful in deciding if this is the phone for you.
Yeah.
Remember, do your research,
Yes.
trust your gut, and most importantly, choose the phone that brings you joy.
The best advice.
Until next time. See.